Thank you all for joining the session today. Really appreciate your time. And so today we're going to cover on some interesting things on how to increase the opens, clicks, and conversions of emails, which we are all of the marketer fraternities using to build contact with their customers and potential customers. So we'll talk about that today. Before I dive into the session, I just want to cover a few quick housekeeping items. So this session is getting recorded, so you will have access to the recording in roughly 4 business days. And we expect the session to be less than 60 minutes, including Q&A. And you can ask the questions in between. I have my colleague Shivani here. She is helping me with addressing the questions you have. And so she will answer some questions during the presentation, and whatever are remaining, we will cover them towards the end of the presentation. And you can put your questions in the chat box, or you can tweet them with the hashtag LSQ webinars. So let's dive into the session now. So what are we going to cover today? So I'll cover state of the email today, some of the few stats which I've picked up out there from a variety of sources, very interesting information. And then we'll cover the marketing metrics which are important, and I'm sure you would all be aware of some or maybe all of them. So we'll talk about that and how we can optimize our email to drive engagement. And then I'll cover the aspects of deliverability, which as marketers we can control and we can do something about pretty much immediately. So we can talk about that to improve our email deliverability in the inbox. So state of email. So this is an interesting stat. I'm sure some of you who are familiar with the email marketing, we have looked at such information in the past, that the 86% of the world email volume is spam. So there's only small percentage of email which are legitimate, which are floating around there. So you can see the whole email business is struggling, or rather there is a lot riding in there with all kinds of information, emails going out to inboxes. So this problem, this specific, if you see the numbers here, the staggering numbers, we can understand the importance and difficulty of delivering the emails in the inbox, because that the spam rate is very, very high. So that's one. And this is the stat I picked up from Senderbase. It's just the information from last week itself. Then some of the benchmarks which you as marketers coming from different industries can look at and see whether you are compared and how you compare with these benchmarks. Now, I picked up this from YesMail stats, and so you can look at that in the marketing and advertising industry, the lowest click rates are in that industry, and some of the highest click rates are in insurance business out there. So you can compare yourself with these benchmarks, both on the delivery, bounce rate, open rate, and unsubscribe rate. And I believe the unsubscribe rate is low because these stats are picked up from lists which are permission based. So if the marketers are using non-permission based emails, then unsubscribe rate will definitely be will be higher than this. So that's the benchmark stack. Okay, I think I messed up. I forgot to press the share my screen button. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're back. So I'll just quickly flip the last slide. This is the one which we talked about, the global email volume. So this graph basically shows that information, about 86% being spam. And then I talked about the benchmark piece. So we can relook at this information here one more time. the click rates are pretty low, as I mentioned, in the marketing and advising industry, and one of the highest in the insurance business. Now, this will include potentially not only the promotional content which are being sent to the consumers or to the individuals, but also the transactional emails. So transactional emails typically have a very high open click and click rate. So I think it's a combo of both. But still, in any case, these are the benchmarks which we can sort of look at, and compare ourselves against with. Then these are the email open trends. So this gives us some idea about how emails are being looked at by the parties who are receiving it. So as you can see, the instances of email opens in desktops is decreasing, and the opens in mobile is increasing substantially. So that is a trend, and it continues to be so. And roughly 50% of emails are getting open on mobile. So that gives us a stat in terms of the importance of designing and serving emails for mobile. That's the sort of a quick learning for us looking at the stat. And then these are the email click trends, which are also interesting to see that how the click rates pan out across the device types. So it continues to be higher in the PC and tablet segment of devices, and lower in the mobile world. So the clicks are happening, so the lower clicks as a percentage as compared to PC and tablet. Now, this has been the stat with respect to the responsiveness of email. So when I say responsive, I mean the email which are served on mobile versus desktop. So the email basically structures itself appropriately to serve nicely on the mobile screen. So that's the responsive piece. So as you can see, there's a lot more ground to be covered by marketers in designing and sending emails which are responsive in nature. And so today only few percentage point senders are exclusively sending responsive emails. And there are partial lists where a lot of emails are being sent responsive, but also there are non-responsive elements. And then there is roughly 30% out there who are still using exclusively non-responsive emails. So that is going to change, and it is going to change very, very fast. But that's the stat as it stands today. And then we'll quickly glance through the metrics that matter, and I've put a little thought in the reverse order here, which is the first and foremost is if you're doing email marketing, I think the spam percentage is the fundamental thing you have to look at, so that you make sure that nobody's complaining about the emails you are sending. If they are complaining, one of the two is likely. Either you have purchased the email list and just blasting them, or you have not appropriately taken the permission from them to send emails. Even then, also it is a possibility that people would mark you spam even when they've accepted to receive an email from you. But that is a very small percentage, and those are not as big a problem, or rather, you will be your email provider will not bother you too much if that happens. But if the spam rates are very high because of the other the purchase list and stuff, then obviously that will be a problem. Second is unsubscribe rate. So it also reflects the quality of list and the quality of message you're sending, and whatever you're sending, the subscribers actually signed up for that, and not for what you start sending after they signed up. So they signed up for X, and you start sending them information about Y, which they are not interested to look at. So the subscribes will go up. So it's basically either they have not subscribed for it, or they have not. You start sending them information which they do not want to get from you. Bounce percentage is straightforward. The box doesn't exist, or some other problem on the recipient end. And then opens and clicks are we know that. So basically the opens and clicks in itself are okay, but I think what can also be interesting, will be interesting for marketers, is to find out how in their segment where they're sending emails, what devices are the customers using or the consumers are using, and what time of the day is good for them to send an email, what days of the week work for them. So I think open and click in itself may not be a great way to look at, but we have to go dig a little bit deeper to understand, what you are sending, in which devices they are being, received, what time of the day emails are getting opened, and so on and so forth. That's very important. And finally, the conversion goals. So either if you're selling something online, and you can easily figure out if you send an email, if anything gets bought, through sales goals or through signups. So for example, if you're sending an email out to sign up them for a webinar, or signing them for some offer or some deal, or it's a consulting session, or it's if you're a real estate firm, then it is probably sightseeing or whatever. So those signups will be your goals from that session, from that campaign. Now let's talk about engagement, because that's what we started off with. So what is commonly understood as engagement is basically the marketers would say, I've got so much open, so much click percent, and so much conversion, and that basically satisfies or qualifies as an engagement. But there is a difference between the engagement and campaign performance. So I think what most people commonly understand and talk about is campaign performance, not necessarily how they're engaging their subscribers, their potential customers. So because if you see, the relationship with the customer exists across email campaigns or across not necessarily just email, there will be other ways they will engage with you. So engagement sort of transcends the open beyond open and click rates. So that is an important thing for us to understand, and from that perspective, we should think about engagement. So because customer relationships are not driven only by one campaign, and if you see most of the email tools out there, they are only focused on giving you opens and clicks sort of information, which is, I think, good information for marketers to take up. But I think we have realized as a business, and we introduced this concept of engagement score and the idea of engagement in LeadSquared, and you will be able to understand that there are other parameters which goes in building the engagement, and that actually are different from your traditional opens and clicks, and are more, or I would say rather a better picture of how you are dealing with your potential customers. Now, engagement definition, or I would say redefinition, is I've put together something. I've taken some information from a couple other sources, but I think first it starts with interest. So the engagement starts with interest, where somebody is interested in signing up for your brand or for your business email. Then attention. So when you're communicating with them, they are interested in looking at what you're sending them. And then if there are any actions to be taken, so for example, if you're inviting them for some session, some downloads, some free stuff, all of that. So that is an action. So if you're sending them that kind of stuff, and they are basically coming out there and clicking those links in the emails stuff, then the engagement goes a little beyond that. For most businesses today, I'm sure you would have website, and your potential customers would be coming on your website and stuff. So the connection, so after the emails are getting clicked and the consumers or the customers are coming back to your website, that's an important piece for you to understand and know that there is an engagement you have going on with them in a certain duration. And finally, I would say conversion, which could be a sign up or a sale, or whatever that would be. So that all of these parameters are going to be part of building an engagement with your audience, with your customers. Now, how do we drive the engagement, right? So these are the engagement drivers which we can use from an email perspective, because there are other ways to engage the customers and the potential customers. But from an email standpoint, what are the ways what are the drivers for engagement? So these are targeted opt-in list, appropriate segmentation, personalization of the emails, form address, where the emails are coming from, what kind of subject lines you're writing, how you are asking your consumers to sign up for clicking the call to action, and the optimization for mobile. Now, mobile optimization will become a norm, going forward. But today we're talking about it. Tomorrow it will become a norm. So opt-in list. So I think to start with, the business, all the businesses who are interested in doing marketing where the spam rates are not high. Number one. Number two, you are able to consistently engage with your potential customers. Then it's important that you invest and in the opt-in list. I think that's an important decision for the business because, or rather, that's the only decision because the email delivery rates are going to go down because the recipient servers and are becoming more and more strict about the deliverability issues and unsolicited emails. So I think it is better to look at the other way around and say, well, I should invest. I'm already investing in other areas of marketing like online ads and so on and so forth. I'm collecting leads from there. Where am I putting those leads? What is going on with them? So I should better and start collecting those leads and appropriately manage them so that I can build my opt-in list as I go on doing my business. So investing in building an opt-in list is an important thing, and or rather the fundamental thing for email marketing to be successful. Second is the segmentation, which is again important. So you may be selling multiple things, but segmentation is an important way to serve the relevant information to your potential customers appropriate at appropriate time, and which is important and relevant for them. So this is just a pictorial depiction of, so if somebody is interested in a particular type of thing, then you basically give them that rather than shoving all kinds of information which you want to send to them, but which the recipient may not be interested in. So I think that's an important element for us to consider. Otherwise, even if we subscribe the audience for our list, they will be put off by us if we start sending all kinds of information which they are not interested to take up. Then personalization. I think this is one of the most important thing and a tough one to actually crack at, to personalize the email. I think a lot of us do a good job of personalizing the subject lines, personalizing the first names and all of that. But other elements which are the email body is something which not everybody is doing properly, or it's hard to do actually. There's a lot of work involved. But there are tools, including LeadSquared, which can be used to further personalize this kind of emails. For example, you can take up a custom field in a product like LeadSquared where you can push this information, and while you're sending an email, you can dynamically fill this piece here apart from the first name and your signature, which will tell the receiving party that you are actually writing them personally. And that goes a long way in both email getting opened, email getting clicked, and more importantly, email getting responded to. So that is what the email personalization can help you achieve. Then from address, I think a lot of times businesses use info at whatever or some address to send emails to potential customers. I think it's a poor way of approaching the customer, because you have no regard. The recipient would perceive that there is no personalization, there is no personal touch in it. I mean, you're just sending that email to me or to the subscriber, and you're not even telling us who you are, basically, right? So I think having a sender from address, and this could be the definition of from has expanded. It doesn't have to be a name all the time. It can be a designation from somebody in the organization. It could be a department who's writing. So if you're a customer support team writing to a customer about their problem, you will use customer support or customer success. Or you're a brand who are approaching with certain offers, deals, etc. So you'll put your name, brand name there. Or if it's a product, something so product sometimes becomes brand. So the product name can also be put in there. So it's important that we have a relevant from address when the emails are getting sent. Otherwise, it is perceived that we are not giving them appropriate attention and respect to the party we are sending to. Then subject line. I think the more you talk, this can subject line can take forever. I think a lot of marketers do not spend any time in thinking about subject line, or a lot of time goes in designing the email, which is the inside or the body of the message, but seldom or rather only a small percentage of time is spent on thinking what the subject line will be. And that is a disaster, because whatever you're spending time and money on the inside part of the email, that thing will never get opened if your subject line is poor. So whatever you try to, the message that you're trying to deliver, that will never reach the eyes of the potential customers if you don't know it gets opened, right? If you know if it's not getting opened. So I think subject line is something one needs to think through. So this is a simple example, right? I mean, and you can see that the subject line is a little different here, but it has a massive difference in open rate, so 50% higher open rate as compared with the previous one. So that's a big deal, on subject line. So subject line can make or break your email. So I think one should spend a good amount of time. And I think even if you're not somebody who like me, right? I mean, I'm not a great subject line writer. So I take inspiration from other people who know how to write good subject lines. You go out there and read what those people are saying and doing, and they have been successful at. I think those can be taken up. Those advice can be taken in. However, one thing which needs to be which one needs to sort of follow or believe in for good results, overall good campaign and engagement results, is that subject line should reflect what is inside the message. Otherwise, you may get a higher open but a poor click and higher unsubscribe. So higher open may also lead into higher unsubscribe if the subject line does not match what you're actually saying inside the message. So that is equally important. Basically backing up the subject line with the substance in the email. Now this is another study done by Listra. I picked up this information from there, and this came from B2B publishing. So B2B publishing basically is all the B2B guys trying to send emails and stuff to their potential customers. So so I picked up the couple of elements there from there. So the emails which had alert and breaking and those kind of information words in their subject lines had a higher open rate and click-through rate, for those. And the reports and guides, those had very poor or rather the declining open rates in that. So not many people are today interested in looking at the report which you're sending to them, right? I mean, they're more interested in something which is fresh or breaking or that sort of stuff. Now, I think today I was talking to somebody and I heard that the breaking word has also started getting misused substantially, and because of that, maybe that will have a bad reputation maybe a few months down the line or maybe a year down the line. So these things will change. It doesn't mean that they will be constant, that we can use alert now and start getting us better results. I think the important thing is that we have to be aware, about the trends and appropriately use that information for our advantage. A quick point on the call to action. So I think if you're trying to if you want to increase the instances of click through, I think what is also important is we place the link of click through as quickly as possible in the email. Doesn't have to be the first thing in the email, obviously, but it has to be. It can follow something which you are trying to tell your subscribers, right? So this is just a one line before. So I just cut a quick email and I'm trying to display the first part of it. So the link immediately follows the line, the headline, as in the main headline of the body of the email. So the chances are that this link will be clicked are high by stats which are out there. And the same is true for the closing of the email. So let's say the email is getting read and somebody goes and reads through the email, and there is another call to action which is asking them to subscribe, register, or sign up or whatever. So I think it's important to have the call to action in multiple places in the email, but definitely in the first and the last. Also, it is important that we do not fill the email with all kinds of call to action, right? I mean, ideally, one email should have one call to action, but depending on the business type, there could be multiple. But a single call to action gets the best results out of so that because you're trying to communicate one message in one email, and that's the point there. Quick note on responsive design. So your email, whatever you're writing, should render equally well on all the devices. So you should be framing those emails in such a way that they are responsive in nature and they're getting opened appropriately with the formatting on all the devices. Now let's quickly move to the email deliverability. And so I'll pick a few aspects of email deliverability. And which we can control as marketers. I mean, there are other things which we can control, which we can control, those are things like permission-based stuff. But then there are other things which are being in control of the parties who are receiving the emails, the ISPs and those guys. So obviously we cannot change a lot with them or work with them, but we can definitely look at stuff which we can do on our end. So a few things: sender reputation. So a party who's sending the email, what is their reputation? So if you don't know about this, and if you're already aware of it, then that's great. But if you don't know, then that's something called a sender reputation, which one needs to manage. Then there is white label email links, which I'll talk about. Then there is sender policy framework and domain key information, which I'll talk about. So there are 4 elements I've picked up from the email deliverability standpoint, which we'll cover today. So sender reputation. So there are 2 types here. So one is domain reputation, which is your website or web domain name. So you can go and check your domain reputation in Senderbase or Senderscore to see if they are, if there's any inadequate information or something is wrong with your domain, you can find that. Then you can also look at spam cop for blacklisting. If your IP addresses are blacklisted or if your domains are blacklisted, you can check there. Then the IP address is the second important thing about from where the emails are getting sent. So you have a domain name and the IP address. Now, IP address is basically where the emails have originated from, and it carries basically the IP reputation. If that is damaged, then all the emails will definitely go into spam. No questions asked, right? So how do you find your IP address? Let's say if you don't know, you're going to find out. Then you can send an email from your email marketing product or wherever you're sending the email from. Send it to Gmail, and there's on the right you can say show. There's this button you can click, this icon. You'll say show original, and then it's going to take you to the next page, which will have all kinds of text here, mumbo jumbo, which you can look at, and in the received from the line like that. So this is a Lufthansa email I picked up. It will have an IP address mentioned here. So you can use this IP address and check if this IP address is has a good reputation out there or not. Second, important to note about IP addresses is that which is not many marketers are actually familiar with. They're all time worried about mostly sending the email and lots of emails and that kind of stuff. But I think one more thing one should worry about, or at least be aware about, is the IP addresses which are where the emails are getting sent from. So you have the shared IP. So let's say if you're using an email provider, or so there that email provider would be catering to multiple other customers, right? And if they're catering to multiple other customers, all of those customers are sending the email from the same IP from which you will send the email. Now, if one of the parties who are sending the email is trying to send emails to unsolicited list or any kind of junk email they're trying to send, now that will affect the reputation of all the people. So everybody who's sending from that IP address, their reputation will be damaged because of that. So you have to be careful about that, but you can't do much about it because if you're not buying a dedicated IP, unless you need one, you have nothing, no control over it pretty much. But it's important that you're aware of it. Why we should be aware of it? Because if you can afford the paying for a dedicated IP, then you should actually look at one to start with. Now, when you get a dedicated IP, it actually there is a little issue there too, which is the parties who are receiving emails will find that, okay, this is a new IP address which is sending emails out, and we don't know, and because they won't know this new IP address, so it will take some time for that IP address to warm up. The terminology, they call it warming up the IP. So only after a certain warm up has happened, that the emails from that IP address will start getting, the reputation will start building up for that IP address. But the important thing for you is you control that IP address. So if you are the only one who can destroy that IP address. So if you are sending right set of emails, good stuff, then basically you are able to maintain the reputation and have a good deliverability out there. So it's a call the business has to make, because dedicated IP will be money out of your pocket, and so you need to take a call on that. White label email links. What are these, right? So when you send an email, when you receive an email, you will see, there are a lot of links which are embedded in emails, and those links, if you see, may not necessarily be pointing to the domain which is sending an email to them. So for example, if you receive an email from LeadSquared, you would find that the LeadSquared, the links which are embedded in the email also point to LeadSquared. So that helps you in deliverability, because if you don't do this setting, then actually the links will be pointing to some other domain name, which not necessarily will be your domain name, and there's not something very wrong about it. It's just that it is better that the party who is receiving the email, which is the ISP, finds that your email links are also mapped to your domain, and there are certain settings which needs to be done on the sender party side and your side to make this happen. But if you do that, it's good for deliverability. Then there is a sender policy framework, SPF record. This is I've just picked this email. If you have seen that an email comes on behalf of somebody, right? So it says that this email came on behalf of somebody else. Now that you would notice if your SPF records are not set. So the party who's sending the email is basically not authorized so you have not authorized them to send an email, and that's why this information will be reflecting in your in the recipient party's inbox. So to fix this, you have to go to your DNS server and put a SPF record there, which I'm sure you can talk to your email provider to help you achieve that. Then there is something called as DKIM, and this is the last technical stuff out there, but it's important. So basically, this record helps you. So I'll tell you why it is there. Forget about this dull picture. But idea is, let's say if you are sending an email, the email goes through internet, and before it goes through internet, and finally it lands into the mail server. Now, there are ways that these emails can be tampered in between. It's like, a friend of yours sent you a courier, and it was tampered in between, and something else was put into the courier in the package, and it came to you. So the same thing can happen to email, technically speaking. So DKIM prevents that. We're using some keys and public and private keys and stuff. So we can, so basically the idea is if you set the DKIM record, then the mail server who receives the email is dead sure that it has not been tampered and nobody else has spoofed this email in between. So that's the idea. So you need to work with your providers and some settings need to be done on your DNS to achieve this piece. With this, we are come to the end of our session, and we can take some questions now from you. And I apologize for the initial goof up I had on that little when I stopped. I couldn't start the screen. So let's get the questions.
Nidhi wants to know what all things should be kept in mind to have minimum month subscriptions.
Okay. I think the first thing, Nidhi, is the list which you have. Did people subscribe to that list? I think it starts from there. If you purchase that list, then there is no guarantee of what number of subscriptions you will have. If it is permission list, then then you can control the unsubscribe rate. They will be unsubscribed, but you can control by two things. One is audience segmentation. So if you're selling multiple stuff, then you need to make sure that somebody who subscribed to the list for a particular thing is actually receiving stuff relevant to them versus everything else you may be selling to them. So I think that is a fundamental thing. So segmenting the list and appropriately sending them content is going to be important, and other things which I talked about in my presentation will be important to keep in mind from a content perspective to sort of keep the reputation intact with the party who is receiving the email.
Jagdish wants to know if the content in the mail has to be extensive or just a summary of what we are offering.
I think both forms are acceptable. It's really a function of how you have, what kind of audience you have. But I think keeping it short is something which I prefer personally, because then you have caught the attention of the party enough that they can go and look at the other elements, probably on a landing page or on your website. But I think you can write a long copy as well, as long as you can sustain the interest of the party who's receiving the email with that. I think you can have name in the subject line. I think it's all right practice, but you can try multiple things. I mean, it works for us. I mean, it's a good thing. We have tried it. It is good. But you don't have to try it all the time. Otherwise, it becomes every other email subject line looks similar. So you should play around with the subject line. There is no harm in doing that, because keeping it same is a stale thing to do. It gets stale basically.
Mandeep wants to know if he can use promotional content in the subject line. How will it affect the open rate?
Promotional content in the subject line. I think. The subject line definitely will play a role in open rates, as we discussed. So the way you crafted the subject line, we took for example of that shoe thing, right? So you can play around with that and basically determine. But if it's promotional content, what kind of content it is, it's also a function of that, and it's a function of what kind of if you have a subscribed list or not. See, the thing with non-permission list or the purchase list, that you have no idea who the parties are. So, you can write anything basically, right? And there is it's anybody's guess what will be the open rate in that case.
Sharat wants to know, how can we figure our best days of the week and time of the day for sending emails?
I think you should use LeadSquared, because we will tell you what are the best days to send emails, because it is it's data. You can go and look back at your data in the reports and understand what are the best times. So you can, if you're a regular email sender, then you can send emails on 3 or 4 or 5, all 5 days of the week, and see how the days are performing against each other on the reports. Now, those reports may not be available on all types of email providers, but in LeadSquared you can see that information and find out what are the best times to send emails across the volume you have sent, across the days, across the time of the day as well. And it'll tell you what devices they are getting opened and which email clients are opening your emails, that sort of stuff.
Gaurav wants to know what should be in the subject line if we are sending cold mails for lead generation.
I think very good question, because we will, as salespeople, if there are salespeople out there, they will be sending some cold emails, which may not necessarily go from your regular email marketing system. They might be just sending an email from Outlook. I think for sales emails like that, the important thing is the subject line. You have to try a few things, and you can basically use the customer's business name, is one example you can write. So let's say if you're talking to XYZ, you can say XYZ or business, whatever, so you can use that somehow in the subject line, with some reasoning, with some, the line should make sense to the receiving party. Or if they're, you can basically try request for meeting, that it seems pretty old school to write that, but my experience is that it works pretty well. So you can say request for meeting, and then you should focus on what is inside the email, because subject line, as I mentioned, is not sustainable. If you just want to get the email opened, because ultimately your objective is not the email getting opened. Your objective is that some action happens after the email is getting opened. So once that is reached, the email is opened, then whatever you have written there, and especially in sales email, if you can be personalized about the business. So for example, if you write to a customer who is in classified industry, right? And so you say, I understand, your business is classifieds, and these are 3 things you struggle with. And by the way, I've done work with these 5 other people who are similar to your businesses, and probably, so there are 3 things I've learned from working with them, and I'd like to share with you, or I'd like to talk to you if I can help you solve one of your problems, something like that. So basically now you're not really saying, okay, give me a meeting, I want to come and meet you. I mean, now that doesn't give a context where anybody is interested, because you're not saying them what is the purpose of the meeting, what will they learn from your meeting, and what will they will learn from talking to you. So I think that you can elaborate a bit in the email, at least in the sales email, to make it more compelling for anybody to respond. And I've seen good response rates for those emails. At least they will say no if they're not interested, which is a good thing for a salesperson, because then they can move on to the next guy.
Umesh says that he's using MailChimp for email marketing. So how is it different from LeadSquared?
In LeadSquared, you can track the complete engagement with the lead, with your subscribers. So not only open click, but it goes beyond open click. It can help you find whether you, after open click, whether your leads are coming to a website, what are they interested in, what are they looking at. You can fire trigger emails from LeadSquared. So for example, if one of your leads is visiting the pricing page, then at that moment, if you want to send them an email based on the trigger when the lead visits your pricing page, then that's possible with LeadSquared with ease. So the lot of things which are there, and this is the email part I'm talking about. Then there are other things on landing pages which are important for marketers to convert online traffic. That stuff is there in LeadSquared, and then several other things. So in that sense, LeadSquared is very different from MailChimp. So if you're only using email as a tool, and you are not really doing triggered based email campaigns, or you're not your business doesn't call for engaging your leads as and when they come to a website or they do some activity, then maybe you can continue to use MailChimp. But if you see that your subscribers, your customers need more attention faster and more intelligence about leads you need, then I think LeadSquared is the product for that. Yeah, so LeadSquared emails, so there's a question about LeadSquared mails are responsive or not. So LeadSquared emails are responsive, so there are templates out there which we have, so those are responsive. However, if as a marketer you bring in your own template which we support, and if that template is not responsive, then email will not be responsive. Where can we buy dedicated IP? So the dedicated IP is a question from Shekhar. So you can buy dedicated IP from the provider whom you are engaging for sending an email. So for example, if you're using LeadSquared, then you can basically pay additional, because dedicated IP is a cost to the business. So you can basically pay additional for securing a dedicated IP for your business. So you can basically buy, so you can buy it from the party who's helping you send the emails. Can I use, okay. Okay, so there's a question from Mandeep. Can I use promotional content in subject line? How will it affect the open rate? I think we've covered this question, so I'll just skip through that. Okay, so we'll skip this one. I think we covered that. So there's a question from Amit saying, I'm planning for email marketing for our systems IT company. So can you suggest the right platform to begin with? I think LeadSquared is the right solution for IT companies, because the purpose is not just to send email, but also to find leads which are interested in getting you so you want to find which leads are engaged with your business. And I think LeadSquared probably does a lot better job than everybody else in identifying which leads are engaged with your business. Will sending a full JPEG file as emailer be a good choice, or will it end up as spam? I don't have a good answer for that, but it doesn't. I've seen that they do not go into spam, so it's not the it doesn't. It's not the case that it will always go into spam. So it's a choice. So yeah, I don't have a good answer for that, Sharath. I'm sorry. I'll probably look it up and maybe respond to you separately. And there's a question which is I think from Jagdish is asking, how do I know if email is necessary for me to expand my client base? I think the fundamental question is email will not will help you expand your client base. So the question before is, how would you actually get an email first, right? So if you are able to get the attention of the potential customers, and then you can market to them about what the product or service you're offering. So I think email is going to help you do that job of engaging with your leads and putting a value proposition about your business or your organization in front of them to give them a reason of why they should be interested in your course, your program, your property, your travel package, whatever. How do I find whether my domain is blacklisted with certain ESPs? I think sender base, this Pratik is asking this question. I think sender base underscore are a good starting point. And then there are a couple others as well. So while you start researching on these, you'll find some more names. There's a SNDS is also there, and then Spam Cop and few others. So you can look at those to understand the reputation, whether the domain is blacklisted or not. But when the domains are blacklisted, you will pretty much come to know very immediately because the emails won't go actually. They will never be delivered. So that'll be easy one to find. What do you mean with responsive email? What if I'm only using text format to send email rather HTML? Yeah, if you're using text email, I think it will be responsive by default. I'm just assuming. There's no problem with that. Then there's another question from Amit. Is that most email marketing going into spam and not delivered images that we put in email messages? Yeah, so if any email lands in spam, and I think if I've understood the question correctly, if any email lands into spam, then the images, etc. are not pulled in, only text content is available for those emails. There's a question on capillary method to get best results. Do you know that? I do not know about capillary method. Sharath, I am not aware of that. Is there any rule to design a good subject line? This is a question for Ankur. I think, as I said, right, I mean, if you do a little bit of research online to identify good subject lines, I'm sure you will definitely land, on resources which are, which will give you a better subject line or above average subject line which you can actually start with. So I think the rules are, there are no strict rules, but you can look at what people have done and experienced and learn from them and start, instead of starting from scratch, you can probably start from a middle ground. For professional service emails, does bulk mail is a good idea or bad idea? This is Chandrasekhar. I think if you're talking about buying list and sending an email, I think it looks like it's not a bad idea because a lot of people are doing it, and if they're doing it, I'm sure they're getting results. So whether it's the right thing to do or not is the question. Good or bad is certainly will be decided by business because if they're not getting results, they will stop doing it. If they're still getting results by sending bulk mails to non-solicited lists, then that's their choice. But I think it's a good practice to basically get the people to subscribe to your list and then engage them with your emails. Other than that, it's if you're sending an email other than that, then my suggestion will be to write a one-on-one email in that case, which is more professional and relevant to the party who's receiving it, and has some context in it, as in why you are going to talk to him, or why do you want them to look at your email. I think as long as you do that, that'll give better results versus bulk email, in my opinion. And there's a question on CTA. Do you mean that we need to keep single CTA destination URL throughout the email template from starting to end? No, I was not referring to that, Rajendran. What I was referring to is if you are having, so you can basically put a CTA across the emails, not necessarily over the entire email. That's what I was referring to. How long should be an email content for a quick response? That is a question for Amrita. I think the question should be what should be there in the email content to get quick response rather than how long it should be. So long and short will not matter as much as what is there in the email which you're writing will matter. Are there any best practices of subject line? I think best practices are, there are some best practices, but what happens is anybody who comes up with a best practice that gets destroyed as soon as people know about it. So that keeps evolving actually. But I think if you look around, out there will be some. Maybe we'll write an article on good subject lines and share with everybody. I think that is something people would like, so we'll probably put that down on our list of writing. Same link we need to place in different places. That's right. Yeah, that's Rajendran. That's the thing. So you can place the same link if you're going to for a single CTA. Then that's what you should do. Any comment on number of recipients on a single email? If you that's a question for Ankuran. So I think if you're referring to sending email using email tools like LeadSquared and others, then the party who receives the email will only see a single email to address to them. But if you're sending an email from Outlook by putting everybody in the to list and all of that, then that is not recommended because it is utter disregard if you're doing to the party who's receiving the email, because you're just sort of kind of spamming them. By sending a bulk email without any personalization in it and so on and so forth. So the better would be that one-on-one email is a better choice there if you're sending a sales email. Dedicated IP, there is a question whether it is for a particular mail ID or for a domain. Dedicated IP is going to be for a domain. So whatever your business domain is, for that you will go and get dedicated IP. On HTML template email, how many links can we put about our website pages? 1, 2 more. I think you can put multiple links in email. There is no problem. I think there are studies which says less than 5 or 6 are good links. But I think if your email copy is long, you can have more links. But the important thing is, right? I mean, if your email is filled with links, then there's hardly anything which is readable, or if the template is not designed correctly. And so it is better that there are fewer links, in the email which are action oriented, and not necessarily more links, because more links is not the answer. And because you're not necessarily wanting them to only click the link, you want them to get the message and then click the link, right? Is email marketing help our business very much? That's a question from Sandeep. I think that Sandeep you have to decide for your business, because if your customers are actually opening emails, then which means that you can actually connect to them in email as well. So it's a medium to connect with the customers. And if your customers are using email, then it's a good tool. It's a good tool for that. So we are towards the end of our session. So I'll pick a couple of one or two more questions, and then we will complete the session. What should be the ideal time to analyze the open rate or click rate? I think within half an hour to 45 minutes, you will get the picture, because what we have also seen in our analysis that the open rate, click rate doesn't change much after that. Umesh Kumar is asking a question about how MailChimp is different. So I think we haven't, then LeadSquared, I think we addressed that. Explain about CTA and email campaign. I think I addressed that part. Okay, then I think we are towards the end of it. So making sure that we complete our session in the hour's time. Okay. Does LeadSquared do website tracking? I think we do that. We do that very much. So with that last question, we are towards the end of our session. So I thank you all for joining the session. Really appreciate your time, and I hope it was informative and useful for you all. And keep coming, and we'll be sending the recording shortly, and we'll address some of your questions in our blog post in few days. And we'll see you again in the next session. Thank you very much, you all. And one last point. So any questions which we have not answered, we'll try to answer them and put them in the blog post. So that's something we do all the time from our webinars, because when there are a lot of questions, we cannot answer all of them. So we try to address them later. So you can please check our blog post blog, or subscribe to our blog, and whenever that post comes in, you will get that that blog post in your email automatically. Okay, thank you all. Thank you very much. You all have an awesome weekend. Thank you.